Training camp is approaching, and who is going to be Mr. Mankato? Outside of watching JJ McCarthy, that's going to be the biggest question in training camp. We love Mr. Mankato. We love talking about it. And I have power rankings. The 10 guys that I think are most likely to win the Mr. Mankato award. Up next here on The Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Real Forno Show, sponsored by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. My name is Tyler Forness. With me and always in the top left corner is producer Dave. And Dave, we're running out of things to talk about, but we have not talked about Mr. Mankato yet. And I think this is a really fun opportunity to kind of break down the candidates. I think what's really important first off is to understand what Mr. Mankato is. And why is it still called Mr. Mankato? Well, let's also be honest with ourselves here. Mr. Mankato was an award, I believe, created by Mackey and Judd. And the whole purpose is to highlight the best player who had never, who was unheralded. So the rules are you have to be a third round pick or later, and you can't be an established NFL player. And they define established as less than 100 career NFL snaps, which I think is a very fair, threshold. Now we're talking offensive or defensive snaps. Special teams do not count because special teams are in itself unheralded. So we're going to have that conversation about Mr. Mankato, and I've got a top 10. Dave, I know I told you about this Monday night when we had the Real Forno Show with Luke Braun that we were going to be doing this. And I don't know if you have a list. I know you've got some a list of potential candidates and stuff. And I think it's a really interesting discussion overall. Do you have a list?
I've got a list. I don't know if there's 10 for the top ones, but yes, I have some names.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to jump in. Number 10, defensive tackle Levi Drake Rodriguez. Now, he came as the belle of the ball last year. Everybody loved him. He's got this infectious personality, a motor that runs so hot, you're going to need 10 gallons of coolant to get him to just settle down. But he did not play a lot last year. And I'm going to be honest, it was well-deserved. He shouldn't have played a lot last year because the guys who also made the team's backup defensive lineman, Jalen Redmond and Taki Taimani, outshined him completely throughout the offseason and in training camp, and they earned real roles on the team. Redmond even overtaking Jerry Tillery for his starting defensive end job. And Taimani would have played a lot more if he didn't get hurt in the middle of the season and miss half of it. So
how many snaps did he have?
Oh, I think it was a dozen.
Okay.
It was very little. And I like Rodriguez. I think he needs to prove something from a pass rush standpoint. I opined going into last training camp that, hey, maybe they're going to use this guy as a nose tackle and they're not going to use him as a 3 technique, which a lot of people thought. I'm he's big, and he's got some pass rush juice, but there's a lot there with stopping the run. And a guy like that with a motor that hot, you could make that guy into a sick nose tackle because he did a lot of that stuff at the FCS level, but he didn't have the frame quite ready for that role in the NFL. You saw him bulk up pretty quickly throughout the course of the offseason, and I think that's what he's going to do this year. The question is he going to overtake Taki Taimani? Because one of the interesting parts about nose tackle, Dave, you can find them anywhere. Nose tackles are very easy to find. So I'm very intrigued to see what they want to do here. I'm very intrigued to see what Levi Drake Rodriguez looks like after a year in an NFL building with NFL nutrition, with NFL strength and conditioning. So remember, he played at Texas A&M Commerce, and a newer FCS school. They're not even old FCS school. those facilities are often worse than high schools or on par with high schools. You're not talking about going to Alabama. If this guy had the Dallas Turner path, we'd be talking about him a lot in a lot higher of a light, but we're not. So I think Levi Drake Rodriguez, with some really good pass rush juice, and he shows something this year with that year of development, I think he's an interesting candidate. And honestly, you could argue that he should be higher for the sole fact that he has fan support. Fans love him. They are overly attached to a 7th round pick. What else is new? Fans overly get attached to draft picks. And he's the one that everybody seems to have gotten really attached to. And that kind of fan influence can really impact the voting. I mean, the voting is basically Mackey Judd, which is completely fine. It's their award. They give it out. But you can influence them by having engagement, conversation. Be like, I think he deserves it, X, Y, and Z. And they will actually take things into consideration, which I think is what makes this award really cool. So Levi Drake Rodriguez is at number 10. A pairing with him at number 9 is another player from last year, Gabe Murphy. Murphy played the one game where he filled in for Pat Jones. He played about almost 30 snaps, but he didn't get a lot of run outside of that. And I think the one interesting thing with Murphy is he got hurt last year when he was starting to ball out, and he missed weeks. He missed most of training camp, the entire preseason, but coaches were raving about him last year. They put him on injured or the PUP list. They took him off. They moved him to the practice squad, and then they called him up for a couple games, but he didn't play a ton of snaps. So he's under that 100 snap threshold. I think Murphy's a really intriguing player. I think you can do a lot with him, but he also has limitations because his arms are as short as Odie. They're 30.5 inches. That is borderline catastrophic for an edge rusher. It's one of the reasons why UCLA used him on the interior. Shorter arms don't matter as much on the inside because guess what? Guards and centers have shorter arms. So a 30.5 inch arm length doesn't matter so much when the guard you're facing is 32.5 inch arms. It's a 2-inch disadvantage, but it's not upward of a 5-inch disadvantage when you have tackles that can have close to 36-inch arms. So Murphy's a guy that if he can explode during some drills, if he can explode during that night practice and really prove that he's something, then maybe we have, hey, this guy can be your Mr. Mankato. I think it's an intriguing one. As I kind of go through those two guys, Dave, any qualms about their position?
Well, LDR had a grand total of 7 defensive snaps last year.
Oh, I thought it was
PFR had 6, and I think PFF had 7.
So the one interesting thing with, I think the difference between PFR and PFF is PFF grades all plays, but plays that technically don't happen because of a penalty, I don't believe PFR counts those as official snaps. Okay. So I think that is where the difference lies. And if anybody hears this and knows that's incorrect, please tell me. I would like to know. But I believe that's the case because PFF grades every single play. Even if like a holding penalty happens and it doesn't impact you running your route and catching the football, like you should still be graded on that play. That's kind of the theory behind it. Yeah, there's some interesting guys on this list. And my number 8, Dave, is somebody that I really, really like. I think he's got potential. And you would have never heard of him before 2024 unless you were an absolute sicko degenerate who watches D2. And that's running back Trey Stewart, undrafted free agent out of Jacksonville State, and not Florida, Jacksonville State, Alabama. And he played at Limestone University. He was very productive. He goes to Rich Rodriguez's system at Jacksonville State and has over 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. He can run the football, and he's compact. He ran a 4.5 40. He's got good vision. We need to see more from him from a pass blocking standpoint. And his path to the team is going to be special teams, not just running the football. But the one nice thing about Stewart, he's only 5'9", but he's like 205. He is built to withstand punishment. He is not small. And Odie is chewing a bone down below me. And I'm like, what in the world is that noise? I think Stewart can be a really nice player. I think he can do a lot of the things that you want a running back to do. And the nice part is he's going to get opportunities because there's only 5 running backs on this roster. Your running back 4 is going to get a lot of run in the preseason. And maybe he's running back 5 behind Xavier Scott, who was on the practice squad for some of last year. But I do think that he's going to get a lot of opportunity. And they guaranteed him a solid amount of money. Like, I think a $10,000 signing bonus and $160,000 in guaranteed base salary, which is about 2/3 of the season on the practice squad. So, I mean, if they cut him, it's not the end of the world from a financial standpoint, but I do think it shows that they like him. And I get it because he was really good last year, but he's also a running back 4 or 5 right now. And I think getting overly excited is a little premature, but I like the projection a lot. My number 6 guy, somebody's already mentioned him in the chats. Trent Halverson did. Max Brosmer. Quarterback 4 does not get a lot of opportunities. We saw that early on with Jaron Hall. Hall eventually started mixing in his quarterback 3, and then he started getting more opportunities, played a bunch in the preseason. And then he got the ability or the chance to start twice. I still believe that Falcons game, if he gets to play that whole thing out and doesn't get concussed, that we potentially see something. When he played against the Packers, they just crushed him. It was just bad. But I still have some belief in what Jaron Hall can do because those 2 drives were really good. And I think Brosmer is going to have a similar path. They like him a lot because of what he's able to do. He will thrive in this style of system. The big question is, can he actually play at an NFL level? Because what he does incredibly well is throw the ball over the middle on time with accuracy and with anticipation. What does Kevin O'Connell like to do? All of those things. And he does need to get a little less risk averse. He needs to kind of clean up some mechanics. There was an interception against Penn State where he was almost like jump throwing, like something you would do when you're just messing around in the backyard, and it turned into an interception. He had the idea right because the guy started getting a step on the linebacker, but you have to lead him perfectly and you have to throw with that kind of anticipation. Throws it behind, easy pick. So those kind of things are what Brosmer really needs to clean up. And if he does clean them up, Dave, you have a really intriguing developmental option. I don't think Brosmer is this guaranteed, I love this guy, he's going to be a starter in the NFL. But I do think he's a really intriguing developmental talent. And maybe he can start some games for you down the line if you continue that development. I also think it's important to note that Kevin O'Connell saw him throw at the Minnesota Pro Day last year. He has a relationship with PJ Fleck. They're about 15 miles away from the U of M campus. There's some symmetry there. There's some, hey, this guy can be good. We'll see.
Now,
I'm not going to go ahead.
I was about to say, people need to realize we get all our information from folks that go to camp and watch. Tyler, for one, and report. We get them from the beat writers that are there at camp, and we get it from the preseason games to make our decisions for Mr. Mankato and who we think should be. You talked about Brosmer. Well, the problem with Brosmer at training camp is all the focus generally from the beat writers is on the starters, right? They're going to be looking at J.J. McCarthy throwing balls to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and how all that goes. Unless something stands out, that's what we're going to get. So we're going to have to watch for somebody like Brosmer, the preseason games, because he's going to get a lot of playing time then, and then make our decision and say, hey, this guy's got it, unless he somehow turned heads at training camp, just to let people know. Just because you're not hearing their names every day doesn't mean that they're not performing. It's just that they're not being focused on by the people that are reporting it.
And one of the tough parts about the quarterback position itself is you have a lot of individual drills and you have handoff drills, and quarterback 4 does the handoff drills. We may not hear from Brosmer much at all the first couple weeks. But here's the one thing that gives me hope as far as what, like him winning the award. he's going to eventually get rotated in with those individual drills. And maybe he gets 10 throws a day. Take advantage of them. And if you take advantage of those throws, that's when you can get more. I will be going to camp. I'm trying to work it out with my bosses. I got a meeting with them next week to try and, if I can't get credentialed, which is probably not going to happen this year, cover some of the costs. So, because look, I live an hour away. I drive a 2018 Silverado that gets 20 miles a gallon. And it gets a little pricey. And then also time-wise, it's not as simple as me driving 10 minutes to go. So we're trying to figure that process out. But I would like to go to all 12. We'll see. Couple of them line up. Like, I leave the next day after joint practices to go to my brother's wedding in Brainerd. So there are some difficulties and challenges that we'll try and work through. But I would like to. We'll see. Yeah, Brosmer is going to be an interesting one to watch. He's also one to not panic early on. Because if he doesn't play, it's more okay than if like another UDFA doesn't play, because there are less opportunities and less packages. Quarterbacks are just, they only can do so much within the construct of these drills. So we'll go with my number 6 here quick. Defensive lineman Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. I think what makes him a harder one and why he didn't finish higher on this list is because he is only 275 pounds. He's going to be doing a lot of stuff on the interior. And even though he's a 5-star recruit and he's got a good strength profile, he's got a really good athletic profile, he doesn't bend the arc well, meaning he does, like, when he needs to like kind of get around an offensive tackle, he doesn't do that very well or easily at all. And I do believe that when you have a guy like him and you kick him inside, he's going to struggle early. And that's not to say he won't be good, but it's a different level. Even coming from the SEC, which is the highest non-NFL level in the world, going from facing SEC caliber offensive linemen to 320-pound guys who can kick your shit. It's different. And I think there's going to be an adjustment period for him. And because of that adjustment period, I also can't tell you how long it'll be. I can tell you there will be one. And if there wasn't one, then this guy should have been picked in the top 15. But there will be one of some kind. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to tell you that you need to panic, you need to worry, but there will be one. And because of that, it could last all of training camp. And that's why I don't have him higher on this list. And that's not an insult, because the adjustment to the NFL is very hard for everybody. Everybody. And I think that is a really tough one to kind of predict, because I don't think they're going to use him much at edge. I think they're going to use him mainly on the interior. I do like the idea of using him as an edge setter. So I think down the line, what you might be able to see is, hey, let's get Van Ginkel off the field for some rundowns. Put Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins like every third series on like first and second down and let him set the edge. I think that's an idea that they might be able to play with, especially because the amoeba stuff, you can kind of move him inside and move him out. But he's not a guy who's going to bend the arc rush the passer. He's going to be 3 technique, Kevin Williams style, penetrate, get upfield, crash the quarterback. That's what he's going to do. And I think the adjustment is going to be challenging for a guy like him. And we'll see. Maybe it's only going to take a week. Maybe it's going to take a month. Maybe it's going to take a year. I don't know. But he's a 5th-round pick. I don't want to put too high of expectations on him. But the idea of a Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is phenomenal for how Flores likes to run a defense. So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, should be.
You know what else I'm really excited about, Dave? Our friends at Underdog Fantasy.
What are you betting on this week?
Oh, my goodness. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers don't play, but I am looking at the Saskatchewan Roughriders Calgary Stampeders game this upcoming Friday night in Regina. I'm really excited about it. The winner takes control of the West, and I do think this could be a really interesting opportunity to play a little bit on Vernon Adams if they have a nice little play with passing yards. I would go higher. The line's probably going to be around 250 yards. Anytime that he throws over 275 yards, the Stampeders win. So I think that's going to be a really fun one. Plus, it's just going to be a good weekend in the CFL. Only 3 games, but those 3 games have a lot of stakes so far this week, even though we're only going into week 6. And the nice part is you have the home run derby next week. Byron Buxton is going to be in the home run derby, and former Twins outfielder Brent Rooker will be as well. So a lot of Twins and local connections there. But the nice part is, if you want to go play Underdog, just be in one of those states you see on the screen and sign up with the promo code FORNO, FORNO, to receive up to $100 in bonus credits. It's a lot of fun. I love playing the CFL. I was 1 basket from Tyrese Halliburton away in game 6, Dave, from cashing out 40 times my initial wager. 40 times.
Wow.
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun and you can have a big time with Underdog. Remember, promo code FORNO, FORNO. But just remember, it's meant for fun. 1-800-GAMBLER if it gets to be a little too much.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Underdog. It's a fun time. All right. Number 5, Dave. I think this is going to be the one that surprises everybody. Defensive tackle Elijah Williams from Morgan State.
Really?
So here's why I went with him this high. He has a good athletic profile. He's an interior rusher similar to Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. He's only like 270 pounds. But what is really, really interesting. Yes, Cody, former Padre. I love Brent Rooker. I am still mad that Twins traded him. I'm sorry. I loved Rooker. I wanted to keep him in that outfield. But nonetheless, I am not a baseball expert. That is not why you're here. So Williams, he came from Morgan State, which is the FCS level. It's an HBCU. He had 33 sacks in his career at Morgan State. So when you have that kind of production, you have to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, how will it translate to the NFL? Because production does not automatically translate no matter what level you are coming from. But 2, if he was at an HBCU in the FCS and he produced like that, why didn't no FBS school swipe him up? What's the reason behind that? Because theoretically, he had 11 sacks in his senior year. So he had 22 sacks in 3 years. That's a lot for an interior guy. So why didn't they swipe him up? Why didn't they, hey, let's give you an opportunity to play big boy football? So that's curious to me. But the one thing that really intrigues my brain about this, so they signed Javon Hargrave. Now, Hargrave, admittedly coming out of college, was 310 pounds. But he also came from an HBCU, same level, South Carolina State. And the idea being that Williams has a built-in mentor in Hargrave to help him understand the transition, to know how to shape your body, what to expect considering that transition could be really, really difficult. That is something that's really interesting. And I do think that that is a factor here. I think the production matters, but it also could mean absolutely nothing because he's just a guy from the FCS level. But the one thing that gives me pause and be like, okay, maybe there really is something to the production is I think he's got a leg up on every UDFA. Why? When the team signs the UDFA class, that first wave, they're giving bonus money, they're giving guarantees out. But Williams earned it by earning a roster spot at rookie minicamp. They invite like 30 non-roster guys. So he stood out in front of everybody to earn a contract. And Arif Hassan at wide left, good friend of the show, has done a study that if you are signed out of rookie minicamp, you are 4 times more likely to make the roster than a standard UDFA. Because you have already proved something to everybody else that you are worthy of being on the 90-man roster. Now, I'm not saying that your standard UDFA class guy isn't worthy of it either. What I am saying is earning it versus getting it are a little different. So Williams is very intriguing to me. I am really, really interested to see what he looks like. He could be absolutely atrocious, and he just could be another FCS guy that just doesn't translate. But I feel like there's something there. And because I feel like there's something there, it's really, really interesting, Dave. Really interesting.
Now, being a defensive lineman, it's going to be tough to win Mr. Mankato. Mm-hmm. No defensive linemen, edge rushers excluded, interior defensive linemen, I should say, and no interior offensive line, tackle to tackle, has ever won Mr. Mankato. It's usually a position that can stand out and flash. So it's going to take a dominant performance from the young man in preseason games and throughout training camp for him to win it. He's got to catch the eyes of the fans and the reporters, in particularly Judd Zolgad, to get in there. But I like the choice.
Yeah, I do think the idea of a defensive lineman winning is tough, which is why the top 4 positions don't include that. But I think production has a chance to immediately translate, especially with a good athletic profile, which Williams has. But he's going to deal with some of the stuff that Ingram-Dawkins, the strength profile of some of those interior guys when you're a smaller rusher, is going to be a problem. How quickly is he going to be able to overcome some of that? And maybe theoretically, I should be willing to flip Ingram-Dawkins and Williams. I got this gut feeling about Williams that he's going to be good. So I'm going to stick with it. But those are 2 really interesting wild cards to me. Number 4, Dave, guy who's been getting a lot of love from the beat writers, especially Alec Lewis. Cornerback Zemaiah Vaughn out of Utah. He's a very interesting case because he's a guy with size, not bulk, size. He's almost 6'3", but he's 180 pounds. They don't care if you're skinny. If you can play, they'll figure it out. He can probably add 5 to 10 pounds of muscle and still be fine, but he's got length, he's got speed and quickness, but he struggles with tackling, which you would expect from a guy who does not have that kind of bulk. And if he can figure it out, I'm real interested. I'm real intrigued because when you play a lot of zone, and the Vikings do, and they like to play a lot of click and close zone. So the click and close ability, for those that don't know, is if you're kind of backpedaling, the click is you plant your foot in the ground, and then the close is you explode forward. I think one of the reasons why is you want it to kind of be like shooting a gun. You want it to be lightning quick. Because once you pull that trigger, that bullet fires real fast. So that's the idea. And he can click and close really well. And that length, he can get involved with at the catch point, hit the ball, and do a lot of really interesting things from that perspective. But he weighs 180 pounds. So will he be able to figure it out? I don't know. But I'm intrigued. And you get a couple interceptions, you take one of those back for a touchdown, that's going to be great on our Mr. Mankato resume. And I think Vaughn has that kind of ability to do that. Yeah, and Freddie says he ran a 4.4. I think you're right on that. We're not going to say he's like a next level athlete, but he's good. But that size is a problem. The Vikings have shown they'll do what they did with Blackman, Addison, Dwight McGlothern, Isaiah Rodgers. If you can play, we'll figure out the size thing. It's okay. So he's an interesting one for me. I don't know if we've talked about Vaughn, Dave. Do you have any read on him? Do you like him? Do you think that the idea is going to work?
I've got to see him. I think he's very interesting as a prospect, and we'll see how he fits to what Brian Flores wants to do. I like the idea of a taller corner that can go up against a taller wide receiver. So I look forward to seeing him. I know he is, by the talk over the offseason, he is the number one projected for Mr. Mankato. But we'll see. He's got to ball out during training camp and the preseason games. If he, knocks everything down, gets an interception, pick six, he's a shoo-in.
Yeah. This Mr. Mankato race is going to be really interesting because I don't think there's anybody that's a true standout. My number 3 is probably the guy who should be the favorite. Because remember, the qualifications are 3rd round pick or later and less than 100 snaps on offense or defense. Very basic general criteria. My number 3 is Ty Felton. I'm not a huge Ty Felton guy, but the one reason why he's this high on the list for me is if he just outruns a dude and houses like an 80-yarder, that's going to go a long way. He's going to have the ability to return punts, probably return kicks as well. Those are also ways to show your ability, take things to the next level. And if you can do that, oh, buddy, there is something there for you. And plus, he's a 3rd round pick. The Vikings' 2nd pick in this last draft. So if you really believe like that he could be good, you should take it very serious. Personally, I think he's a little overrated because his hips are like the Tin Man. Like they need a lot of oil to really loosen up. But I'm very curious if you can loosen some of those things up and how that works from an athleticism and flexibility standpoint. If maybe he has to do a bunch of yoga lattes or something like that in order to kind of get himself a little bit more fluid. Very intrigued by that from an overall perspective. But Ty Felton, number 3, Dave, do you think that's too low?
As in too high, too close? I don't think he's going to. He should be the favorite because of where he was drafted and what he does. But I don't think he's going to get close. From everything I'm hearing and from what you say, he's a limited wide receiver. And you need to be more than limited to turn heads, I would think.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be really interesting. I'm intrigued. I don't know what to think. But I do know that if Keenan McCarthy wants him, you have to say, okay, there's something there. Because Keenan McCarthy is not somebody who's just going to say, hey,
give me a wide receiver. Yeah, he saw something.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave, my number 2. The number 1 paid UDFA this year, edge rusher Tyler Batty. He got $236,000 fully guaranteed, which is a year's practice squad salary. And he got a $25,000 signing bonus, which is the most given out by the Vikings this year. Now, bonus money and guaranteed money are capped for undrafted free agent classes. So you can give out as much or little as you want. But I think Batty's a really, really interesting player. And I don't think he's going to struggle as much as like Ingram-Dawkins or Elijah Williams is going to from a strength perspective. He's a very similar size. He's like 6'6", 275. But that dude was strong as an ox this past year at BYU. And he's also going to be 26. And he was at BYU for 6 years. Or 5 years, excuse me. And then he had a 2-year Mormon mission.
Yeah.
So he's older. But it's a little younger from a football body perspective because he had those 2 years off. You're taking less hits. But Batty is a great run defender. He was even doing some 2-gap kind of stuff at BYU at 275. Pretty interesting. And because he's such a stout run defender, he's not a high-end pass rusher. but I do like the profile. And if he can show the ability to really be a good run defender, he's more of an effort pass rusher. He's never going to give you elite numbers from that perspective. But if you can do some of that run defense stuff and you can show that immediately, you get a couple tackles for loss, that's going to vault you right up. It's an easy way to get yourself involved. It's an easy way. And I do like Batty. I think he's one of the UDFAs that's going to make the team. I think he and Zemaiah Vaughn are probably the two most likely. The beat keeps talking about Silas Bolden. I don't buy it because that dude is not that shifty and he's not that fast. And he's also 5'8", 160 pounds. I don't buy it. That's a college football player. It's not an NFL player. That is a podcaster. If you are smaller than Luke Braun, you are not an NFL player. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, Tyler Batty, number 2. Dave, I'm going to give you a chance. Who is my number 1? Who do you think it is?
Jeshaun Jones.
Nice guess. It is Jeshaun Jones. He was the tied for first of paid UDFAs last year or 2 years ago. I think it was last year. They gave him like $225,000 fully guaranteed. They gave basically even the same deal as Gabe Murphy. And he was at Maryland for 6 years, had back-to-back torn ACLs in 2020, 2021. So he needed some time to kind of get over that. And I don't think he's the fastest guy or the shiftiest guy, but he's kind of more like a possession receiver. And I think there's nothing wrong with being a possession receiver. I think he can give you a little bit of something. And because of that, I have him high. I think he's going to get opportunities to play. And if you get opportunities, that matters just as much, if not more, than playing well. Because you're going to have more chances to shine, more chances to show your stuff. And this wide receiver room is 4 guys deep right now. You are going to have Jefferson, Addison, Ty Felton, and Jalen Naylor. They are all making the team. The wild cards are after that. And I think Jones has reportedly showed himself really well over the course of the offseason. And I think training camp could be where he really shines. He showed something to me during training camp practices. I came away very impressed. But it's very interesting, Dave.
It is. Well,
and
I made some graphics.
Do it.
Here's all the rookies that are eligible. These are just the rookies that are eligible. I've got the top bunch ranked by where the talk of the offseason has gone. I would not throw Gavin Bartholomew up there, our new tight end, but he was drafted, so he counts. We'll see how that goes. Ben Urasek is my dark horse to take the trophy. We'll see how that goes. I would love to see Logan Brown, and I've seen people talk about Logan Brown. I'd love to see any of the big round bellies, but Logan Brown to step up, and provide depth for years to come, absolutely. But like I said, the big round bellies, either offensive line or interior defensive line, have a lower chance to make it. So we'll see how that goes. And then I asked my favorite researcher to judged on, and I know this is hard to see, folks, and I apologize for that, judging on what's talked about this year, who's in the offseason, who's leading the race going into training camp. And right now it's Vaughn. Silas Bolden is second. We have Jeshaun Jones is third. It's a good spot to have him. That's why you like him. We have Gabe Murphy, who I still believe qualifies.
He does.
Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, the defensive line rookie. Ty Felton. And then Michael Juergens. Because how much he's being talked up about Kwesi, or by Kwesi and the crew. Let's see how he looks as a center 2. And hopefully he doesn't have to play this year, but there's another one. So we'll see on how this plays out. And I can't wait to get your firsthand eyeballs on the players from training camp.
Yeah, it should be really, really interesting. I'm excited to start to kind of look at training camp and figure some of that stuff out and look at what's going on. There's a lot.
And Biggs just reminded us Kobe King's in the race too.
Mm-hmm. Kobe King would have been 11. He would have been 11 for me. I think King is an interesting player. I do think he's going to get opportunities at linebacker because of the lack of depth. But I also think that there are just other guys I liked more. And that's nothing against Kobe King. I think King is fine. But that's kind of how I ended up maneuvering with it. So those are top 10 Mr. Mankato candidates. And I'm excited.
Of 10, Freddie reminds us 10 more days till the rookies report.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
You and everybody else, brother. You and everybody else. I'm tired of list season.
Me too. That is our show tonight. 2 old bloggers will be back, as Darren was a coward and couldn't make the show this past weekend. I actually don't know why he didn't have 2 old bloggers, but I'm blaming Darren. It just makes too much sense.
He said I needed a vacation.
I'm sorry.
It drove me bananas not to be working, folks. It absolutely did. And if you
hold on. He needed a vacation. Isn't this the guy who had to admit? Oh, you did?
He said I needed one.
Oh, I'm going to say that dude was taking vacations left and right over the last year.
Oh, no, not him. No, he said Dave needed a vacation. Well, and I got to spend some time with my grandsons, which was cool. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see some of the weird artwork I've generated, because when I'm bored, I generate artwork. And I've been off the rails this last week.
Hey, I'm glad you got a little bit of time to celebrate the 4th of July. I got to celebrate the 4th of July a lot of carnival time. Delano has a nice little carnival every year. But that is our show. We'll be back on Monday. I think next week we'll probably do an overall offensive and defensive preview, kind of a big picture scope of each unit going into training camp. And I think that'll be pretty good. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you're on the podcast feed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We're going to have a lot more coming for you, both this offseason and into the season. Potentially even more stuff from me. I haven't figured things out yet, but you may get more, and more is always good. I'm Tyler.
Dave needs to keep busy.
Yes. Hi, and I can keep you busy. Don't. I'm Tyler. He's Dave. SKOL Vikings, everybody.
SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching the Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.